You are listening to From Sobriety to Recovery with Jesse Mogul. Let's get to the show. Welcome back to From Sobriety to Recovery. I am your host, Jesse Mogul. I am in addiction recovery. I am having a great time tonight. I've just got done putting in some of my final touches to the last week of my schoolwork. I am currently looking at a 998.5 out of 1,000. So I will have lost a 1.5 if I can maintain my current trajectory. And other than the fact that there's a big dog essay and a couple participation points up for grabs, everything looks like I am perfectly lit up for this 998.5 out of 1,000. Last term I got 997 out of 1,000 and thought, well, I set the bar pretty high. I don't see how I'm going to be able to eclipse this. And sure enough, I did figure out a way to eclipse it and not get 1,000 out of 1,000. And these are tough classes, but I figured I have finally come up with my system and my formula, and I have ironed it out. And if you remember how, I don't know if helter-skelter is the term that I would use, but it's certainly the words that just popped into my mind. I was a little frantic back in August, September, and October. I remember how stressful this was, and I really do feel right now that these last 3 or 4 classes, I've really been able to nail down a system and a bunch of different habit loops that have allowed me to prepare for these essays, and now we're getting into actual videos where we have to show our counseling skills, doing that with a partner over the last couple weeks, a few different assignments. Now I go into group counseling next term. I'm really looking forward to that one. And one of the coolest things that's come from learning all of this stuff is being able to directly bring it to my addiction recovery clients. What I've learned through theories of counseling and through the ethics of counseling and now through the counseling skills, I'm directly able to bring to my current clients that I am working with. And a lot of them were listeners to this show, just like you are, who listened to me when I said go to jessemogul.com/askme, click on the link to open up the Google form, fill it out, and I will hop on a Zoom call with you. And not everybody who gets on a Zoom call ends up becoming a client. Some join the tribe just to be there for one another to support, and some just like to share their story with me and then go about their merry way and be, continuing to be awesome and enjoying the show just as that participant. So don't think that just because I invite you to a call through jessemogul.com/askme by filling out that Google form, that it means that because we sit down for 30, 45 minutes and talk, that you are somehow beholden to me to become a client of mine. That's not the point of the calls. It certainly can be one of the outcomes, but it is not the point of them. And many times I just like to learn what it is about the show that has attracted you to listen for as long as you have. What topics have really touched you and spoken to you the most, and what topics would you like to see me cover? And there are a lot of topics that I get fired off at me through social media and the emails, and again through these 30-minute phone calls I have with listeners just like you. And one of the ones that seems to come up quite frequently is the idea around instant gratification and impulse control. And these come up a lot. And so I started asking myself over the last couple months, what is it about my instant gratification and my impulse control? And where is it that I'm firing off this level of discipline in my life? And what is helping me do that? And that is going to be the topic of today's episode. And we're going to do this in a bit of a sober shorty style because it is nearing midnight and I've got to be up at 6 a.m. So I do want to bring you powerful information. And at the same time, we're going to limit this and not let this go on for an hour because I really do think that while I could extend this episode well beyond 20 or so minutes, I think it's best I introduce this to you and then we start to continue discussing this topic over the next few weeks and months, because I really want you to start noticing in your life where you are having some of these potential pitfalls and where you could start using some of the methods that I'm going to discuss in this episode. So first, let's discuss impulse control and instant gratification. That impulse control, when we feel something emotional, right? And it could send us into fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. But when we feel some sort of emotional stimulus, that's when a lack of impulse control can come. Somebody can say something nasty to us, and a lack of impulse control could cause us to fire off back at them just as sharp and just as mean. And now we've turned it into a whole situation. You could feel a little down on yourself. Maybe you get a bad grade, or you don't do so well at work, or you look at your bank account and it's got a whole lot of zeros and not a whole lot of numbers other than that one. And you get a little bit stressed out, anxiety kicks in, you start to panic, and next thing you know, you're in the kitchen, you're eating too much food, you're thinking about that booze, you're thinking about that drug, and maybe you even go off and you find a way to get your hands on those things. When we feel emotional surges, our body elicits that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, and whether we mean to or not, our mind is going to intentionally seek us down a path to go after what used to calm us down, what used to be able to bring us some level of relief. And when for the longest time you were using alcohol, drugs, or food, or gambling, sex, or porn as your emotional coping skill, instant gratification and a lack of impulse control are going to send you down a path where you start to trigger the cravings, and that's going to cue the response that leads you to your believed reward, which is the use of your drug of choice. Issue is that when we've done that pattern loop as many times as we have, we know that while in the moment we might feel better, we know that the guilt and the shame and the hangover and the regret and the apologies are what we're looking forward to the next morning. And while I may have never really looked forward to those in my past, I was certainly willing to, abdicate my behavior, get over it, if you will, as long as I could apologize to everybody around me and we could all just go off and get drunk again that night, and maybe somebody else makes a fool of themselves and I'm no longer the topic du jour. When we get older, when we get a little wiser and we start to realize that we want to change our behaviors, now we've got to start looking for new coping skills. And when we start to make these decisions around a sober life, that's when we start to, again, going back to what I discussed last week, right? We start to notice what's going on. We locate the issue. We begin to review it. We dissect it. We construct it back together, and then we start acting upon that. What's going to happen time and time again, and this is what I've heard from plenty of y'all, so I know I'm not just making this up as if it's my own little world, but I don't know if you've noticed this in yourself yet or not. We can allow our emotions in the moment to dictate our behaviors away from what we have previously decided we want our behaviors to be. I'm going to say that again. We can allow our emotions in the moment to dictate our behaviors away from decisions we've made about our behaviors and what we want them to be. And what's really interesting is when I say this, I think about this plastic bag in a movie, American Beauty, where like the angst-ridden teenager's recording this bag floating in the air, and he's trying to connect it to just how so many of us just float around in the air and we're not really in control of ourselves. And partially that's very true. We're only aware of ourselves as much as we're able to be aware of ourselves, and we're always going to be noticing our awareness of ourselves through our own awareness of ourselves. And that's going to come with biases that we're going to continue to confirm. So if you think you're super self-aware and you have tons of situational awareness, whether you do or don't is always going to be perceived through your own self-awareness and through your confirmation biases that tell you whether you're being self-aware or not. And if you want your confirmation biases to tell you you're self-aware, that's what it's going to tell you, even if it's not necessarily true. And what's interesting is we may only catch ourselves playing these mental gymnastics games when our lack of self-awareness and situational awareness are so obvious that it's put us into a predicament that we know we could have not found ourselves in. Right, when you're looking around, you're like, this is a shit show. I know I could have made a better decision than this. That's when we might be willing to admit to ourselves that our situational awareness, that our self-awareness is not meeting the standards for which we have set for our lives in order to go onwards and upwards in our sobriety and recovery. Now, how am I running this through my life. And this is really the most important aspect of the episode. And this is something I've been wanting to get to since we started this episode. So I'm probably just going to jump in, leaving out some steps. I'll go back, I'll listen to this, and I'll tighten it up where I need to. But when I think about what gets me to focus on what I need to do each and every day, I pay attention to the power of discipline and forgetfulness. The power of discipline and forgetfulness. Now, I want to run headlong into the discipline aspect before I tell you why forgetfulness is so important. And I may even title this episode, Why You Should Start Forgetting. I don't know what I'm going to title this episode, but I think that the overall thesis of this entire episode and what I'm going to continue to bring up over the next few months is why forgetting is so important. First, discipline. Discipline takes strength. Discipline takes humility. Discipline takes self-love. It takes a lot of love for yourself to make decisions that go against your impulse control and your instant gratification, to make a decision for your future self over what your present self wants, what your present self desires. Your present self might want the beer, the line of blow, the hit of crack, the dose of kratom. It might want the binging on the sugary snacks late at night, or sitting there watching porn until the sun comes up, or gambling away your mortgage or your rent money, or shopping on Amazon until, there's so many boxes showing up at your house. People think that you're going to, start up a store from your garage. It takes a lot of discipline, a lot of self-love. Let me say this again. It takes a lot of self-love to make decisions for your future self instead of your present self. Because your future self wants you to follow through on the promises that you've made to yourself. I'm not going to eat the sugary snacks. I'm not going to stay up late watching porn or shopping or gambling. I'm not going to go and reach for that beer. I'm not going to go find my drug of choice. I don't want to do these things because I want a different life. Right? I've talked about this time and time again. When I hear you say, I can't stop doing this, I hear you fighting for a life you've already told me you're sick and tired of. When you've made the decision to make a change, it's your present self that's going to fuck your future self time and time again, because they're going to want something in the now rather than waiting for the victory in the future. Right? It's super easy whenever I'm feeling stressed out to just go downstairs and eat a whole bag of Oreos. Trust me, I have caught myself on Oreo number 7 and been like, dude, it is time to stop. Brush your teeth and go the hell to bed. But in the moment, that sugar hits my lips and I'm like, game the frick on. But if I want to reach my physical fitness goals, if I want to be able to look at myself in the mirror and know that I'm somebody who sticks by my word that I've made to myself, right? We're talking Don Miguel Ruiz, 4 agreements here. Be impeccable with your word. I have to follow through on the promises I've made to myself. And it takes a tremendous amount of self-love to say no in the present for the reward in the future. And I know it can be difficult. So let's discuss the emotions that you're feeling. Let's discuss something that could be blocking you. And this is where the power of forgetfulness exists. This is one of the most important strengths that I use in my sobriety and recovery. Time and time again, it is the power to forget that saves my ass. I had to hit pause real quick so I could Google this. It's called, okay, let me slow down because I hit pause and y'all don't know I hit pause. You don't know I was gone for like 3 minutes, but I was. Because I remember a long, long time ago watching some daytime talk show, and there was an actress on there talking about how she can remember every single day like it's now. And I thought that was some super trippy stuff back then. I didn't really ever think that it was going to matter, and I didn't think I was ever going to need to call upon that information again. But I do. And the one I Googled about this was Mary Lou Henner. And she has this very rare condition, like 100 people worldwide have it. It's called, hold on, there it is. Hyperthymesia. Hyperthymesia, which is a highly superior autobiographical memory, HSAM, hyperthymesia. And this is the ability to remember like everything that's ever happened in your life. Like you could give her any date known that she's ever lived, And you could be like, whatever happened on, June 15th of 1984. By the way, that was my 8th birthday. If I were to ask her what happened on June 15th, 1984, she would be able to tell you what she was wearing, who she had lunch with, like what time of day she got up with. It's beyond me. It's like she has instant access to her unconscious mind. Like she can just Google search anything, anytime, and boom, she's got it. If she lived it, she knows it. And this is where I think the power of forgetting must suck, because she doesn't get to forget. So she gets to remember every emotion she had. If you were to say, remember the day that you broke up with your first love, she would like have that and be able to access those emotions, that memory in vivid detail, like know what she was wearing and what he smelled like, the whole deal. That's got to be some effed up stuff. I would not want that. As much as I would love to be able to remember everything, and be able to have like the internet in my brain, I love learning and I love remembering, and I enjoy the fact that my brain has to piece all of that together. To be able to recall the day my mother died, or the day I broke up with my first, girlfriend, or the day I found out that my high school sweetheart passed away, like that'd be, I just don't know what I would, like, how do you even handle and cope with all of those emotions? So let's bring this back. None of us have hyperthymesia. If you do, please go to jessemogul.com/askme, hit that Google form and let me know I want you on this show, because I would love to know what it's like for somebody going through addiction recovery who has hyperthymesia. Again, highly superior autobiographical memory. If you know someone with hyperthymesia, please, I'm begging you, get their information to me. I would love to have them on this show, because apparently, according to the internet, there's like only 100 of them on the planet. So you happen to know one of the 100, again, jessemogul.com/askme. Click on the contact me button. Be my guest is another button that you could click in my menu, and that would have them fill out a form so they could become a guest on the show. If you would like to be a guest on the show, you could go to jessemogul.com/be-my-guest, and you could literally fill out a form. I get hundreds of these a month, and as you can clearly see, I don't let many people on my show. So I'm not saying that you'll get on the show, but at least I'll know you exist, and then I can make the decision then. Again, jessemogul.com/be-my-guest. Back to the forgetting thing. Why is forgetting so important? Here's my deal. I'm just going to explain to you how I utilize this, and then I'm going to let your brain just create it on your own, okay? So, one of the things I remember teaching my stepson recently, he was talking about having some bad days at work. He was talking about some tough things that he needed to work through, get through, and do. And my response back to him was, you think you're going to remember doing that in 3 days? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, what'd you do 3 days ago? Without thinking about it, just what do you think you did 3 days ago? He's like, if I was scheduled to work, I worked. I'm like, what do you think you did at work? Oh, I don't know. Check people out, help people figure out where things were in the store. Okay. What about 3 weeks ago? What'd you do on that Tuesday 3 weeks ago? Don't know the date. Just what do you think you did 3 weeks ago on Tuesday? Oh, I have no idea. Okay, well, what if I told you that date was March 13th? What do you think you did on March 13th? I don't know. I'd probably have to get in my calendar. Okay. What if you got in your calendar and you were to look at your dates? Would you remember every single thing that you did that particular day at that particular job or that particular class? I don't know. Would I? And that was the beginning of me teaching him my system for why I think forgetting is so important. Because here's the deal. When you're emotional in the moment and you've made the commitment to work out, or you've made the commitment to go mow the lawn or weed eat, like I just got done doing a shit ton of chores yesterday. I spent like the entire day when I wasn't with clients outside pressure washing our fence so we could stain it, so it would stop molding and mildewing and rotting, because we don't want to buy a new fence. They're freaking expensive. Did I want to spend hours pressure washing a fence? I did not. That was not something that was high on my list. I want to do it so my fence doesn't go to shit, and I had to spend $5,000 to fix a fence. I don't have $5,000. But was that like the first thing I wanted to do? Again, not particularly. It was the first thing I wanted to do because I committed to doing it, and this is why I committed to doing it, because I knew one day I would forget doing it. And when we were in the middle of it and we realized that because of the thunderstorms that happened the other day, the ground was completely saturated, and root systems that we were trying to get out of the ground from bushes and trees we had cut down previously, some the previous owner cut down, and I could not get through the ground over the fall. Well, a hellacious thunderstorm came through, dropped like 4 inches of rain on us overnight, and now all of a sudden the ground's super soft. So now I'm out there with this shovel that I swear could crack cement, and I'm just ripping root systems out of the ground. I mean, it's taking me 4 hours to get them all out, but by goodness gracious, I did it. Did I want to do that? No. But in the moment, I wanted to complete this task, and I was not going to allow my emotions in the moment to dictate what I was going to do. Yeah, I would love to have come upstairs and studied for school instead, or I would love to have been able to work out, or maybe just go sit on my freaking couch and just take a damn break. But here's the bottom line. No, unless, I almost said no matter what, but that's not true. Unless something super big happens on a particular day, unless it's like your birthday. You know what? What'd you do last year on your birthday? What'd you do last year on Mother's Day? What'd you do last year on St. Patrick's Day, Valentine's Day, 4th of July, Flag Day, Memorial Day, Labor Day, Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? You'll remember some of those things. But recently, St. Patty's Day passed. I was like, I don't know what we did last year. This year we went to the parade, but I don't remember what we did last year. What we do last Mother's Day? No freaking clue. What did I do for my birthday last year? I had to literally think about that. And even right now, what did we do? I don't know what I did. What did I do last 4th of July? We went to Providence and watched the fireworks show. We ate pizza at Mellow Mushroom. Okay, got that. No idea what I did before that, though. This is why this is important. And I know this last 5 minutes might have seemed like a bunch of rambling nonsense. So let me get to the freaking point. You are not going to remember today in 3 days or in 7 days or in 14 days. Like literally, this is right now, it's Saturday. If on Wednesday I said, what did you do Saturday? Right? You might be like, oh, okay, what did I do Saturday? Do you remember every little thing that you did? And this is why doing the hard stuff actually doesn't bother me anymore, because I'm not going to remember. I'm honestly not. Do I remember if I worked out on Tuesday? Did the calendar tell me to? That's the only way I'll know if I did, because my brain doesn't need to remember. Is your brain going to remember whether you sacrificed sitting in front of the TV on a Tuesday night versus you went to a meeting in 14 days? It's not. It's probably not. I'm not going to guarantee it's not. It's probably not going to know you went to a meeting over not watching TV. Are you going to remember that TV show that you stayed at home watching instead of going to that meeting? Are you going to remember doom scrolling through TikTok instead of calling up a loved one and vulnerably connecting? See, here's the thing. You may not even remember the vulnerably connecting conversation, but you're going to accumulate those conversations over the course of time, and it's going to strengthen that relationship. But doom scrolling social media or sitting there eating bonbons in your underwear watching The Simpsons isn't going to fucking change your life. And you're not going to remember every single thing that you do that accumulates to this massive change that you're wanting. But I can promise you this, that if you continuously sacrifice the things you've promised yourself you want to do for the sake of some other nonsensical easy crap, you may not remember the nonsensical easy crap that you chose over the things that you decided you actually wanted to be doing. But I can promise you this, you will definitely be sitting in the shit of that indecision, and you will definitely be sitting around looking there thinking, why isn't my life better? You know why it's not better? Because you're choosing the easy frickin' route instead of taking the hard road. And here's the thing, is in 3 days, 7 days, 17 days, you're not going to remember how hard that Tuesday was. The likelihood that you can even recall what you did last week, this week, is pretty minimal. Unless seriously, just off the top of your head, right? There's going to be a few things that stick out. But that day-to-day stuff that you're doing, the wiping down of the house so that it's clean, the vacuuming of the floor, instead of sitting there watching TV, you went outside and you picked up some of the garbage or you raked the leaves. Like, you're not going to really remember raking them leaves. You might be like, man, my yard looks clean. Clearly I raked leaves. Oh yeah, that was last Tuesday. And 4 weeks from now, when there's more leaves or more grass that needs to be cut, you're not going to really remember having mowed the grass 3 times ago. But the fact that the grass isn't 7 feet tall in front of your house is going to tell you probably mowed the grass. Do I want to go outside? And when it's like 90% humidity and there's bugs everywhere and mow the lawn after it rained 2 days ago and the lawnmower keeps wanting to get clogged? No, I don't. I want to sit inside. I want to do schoolwork. I want to learn. I want to study things to tell you guys about in the podcast. There's a lot of other things that I sincerely would probably enjoy more so than the mowing of the lawn. But I have turned mowing of the lawn into something fun because I wanted to own a house. I wanted to have this adulting stuff happening in my life. And now that it's here, I'm not going to piss and moan about the responsibilities that come with it. Because that's the thing. We pray for a better life. And then when the better life gets here, we piss and moan about the responsibilities it comes with. It makes no sense. I wish I had family in my life more often. And then when I don't get along with them, I get pissy and moany and say things like, well, this is why I never had my family in my life. Or instead of being such a little sorry sack of nonsense, I can simply say, oh, this is what it's like to grow a relationship. There's ebbs and flows. You don't always get along. It's okay. We can forgive one another. I always wanted to be sober so I could have a healthy body and I could eat healthy and I could be somebody that people could rely on. And now I have my healthy body and I'm somebody that people can rely on, and I have to keep my healthy body up. And I actually have to answer my phone when people who rely on me want to ask me for stuff or want to just have me be there for them when they need emotional support. And then I have the audacity to piss and moan that this person wants to reach out to me for support when that's exactly the life I wanted to create for myself, was one where people could rely on me for support. So pushing through the things that we don't necessarily want to do in the moment, because it is what we have told ourselves we ultimately want to do, is all about the power of forgetting that in the moment, it may not necessarily be tops on our list. Sure, I would love to go and turn on my TV and watch old football highlights and stare at fantasy football screens. And it's 5 months before that sport even freaking matters. But bottom line is, no matter how difficult something is for me in the day, in this moment, I'm not honestly going to remember it 3, 5, 7, 19 days from now. I'm not. Later on down the road, I will not remember that on Friday, May 10th, I spent 7 hours in the lawn with a pressure washer and a bunch of different shovels, ripping root systems out of the ground. Then I mowed the lawn. Then I weeded the lawn. Then I used the little air blower thing to get all the grass clippings off so my driveway looked all pretty, so that the fence was clean, so that my girlfriend could go out there and stain it today. I am not, 3 weeks from now, going to remember that's what I did on May 10th. No, she might be like, remember that time we stained it? I'll be like, oh yeah, I remember. I took that Friday off from work. Had a couple clients, but other than that, I just focused straight up on outside work, right? And then 3 months from now, we will be like, yeah, I remember that, hey, the fence is stained. Wow, how'd you find time to do that? I don't know. Probably just took some time off of work and just decided that's what I was going to do. And here's something really interesting too. One of our neighbors came over who's been wanting us to come over and swim in her pool. And she came over and we're in the middle of this, root systems barely out of the ground on plant 4. There was 7 of these things I had to do. And she's like, hey, you guys want to come over and swim? I was like, nope, that sounds like a reward. And I was like, and we're in the middle of this project. We have not earned a reward yet. Oh, you sure you don't want to come over and swim? Yeah, I know I want to come over and swim. I would love nothing more than to come over and swim right now. That sounds like a blast. Compared to taking this sharp-edged sword and slamming it down into the ground over and over and over and over again, trying to figure out how to get this root system out, I absolutely would love to come swim in your pool. But we are in the middle of this task, and this is not going to get done if I stop and come play for an hour. This is what I told myself I wanted to get done today, and I'm not going to stop till it gets done. I don't take breaks when things like this are going down. I didn't stop and sit down after every root system. No, I turned right to the next root system. Yeah, maybe I drank a little water, maybe I hit my vape, but I did not sit down. I did not take a break. It was pressure wash until we realized that the ground was so wet we could rip root systems out. Then it was rip root systems out time, and then it was straight into pressure washing, straight from pressure washing into mowing into weed eating into using the little lawn blower. And next thing you know, it's done. And I started this stuff at 8 a.m. and we didn't finish till 5, but I was not going to stop. I don't care how tough it was. I don't care how hungry I felt. No, drink water, get going. I burned through 2 different sets of AirPods doing this stuff because I knew that my emotions in the moment might say, man, this is tough. Let's just sit down. Let's just go have a sandwich. Let's just go play in our neighbor's pool. No. Because I'm not going to necessarily remember that I even played in the pool. But what I am going to know is that I didn't get this done. And I didn't have time to do it today. I had to go work at the restaurant. Then I had to come home. Turned out we didn't pressure wash the fence correctly in certain parts. So I had to go back and re-pressure wash. And we had to get some stuff done in the house. And she was wanting to stain the fence. And she didn't get all the way done because there was other parts I needed to pressure wash. So now she's got to finish that tomorrow. Then we got to go out and we got to make sure everything's right with it. And we got to plan for the next project. I know. It's a bunch of stuff. I signed up for this. I always wanted to be a homeowner. This is what homeowners do. They maintain their house. You don't just buy a house and then just say, yay, now I have a house and in 5 years it'll appreciate and I can sell it for a 3% profit. It doesn't work that way. You got to bust your freaking ass and keep this house in one piece. I sort of kind of remember that from my childhood when my dad had us outside doing chores all the time. But I thought he was just pissed at me and wanting to make me put the video games down. It turns out there was actually a purpose to all those chores. Having me on the roof pulling leaves out of the gutter wasn't just him being a dick. It was actually keeping that stuff from rotting away in our gutter systems. I know. It's amazing the crap you learn as an adult. And not everything that you're going to have to do as an adult, as a sober person, is going to be the top thing you want to do on your list. But understand, you have the power to forget. Just let it go. You did it. Go to the meeting when you're not in the mood. Call up the person and apologize when you don't want to. Go to work when you're definitely not feeling like that's what you want to be doing at the time. Sit down and crack open the book that you told yourself you were going to study so you could get a good grade on the test. Or, go help your kids study for their homework, even though what you'd really rather be doing is watching the game. Freaking hell, we've got DVR on everything now. Tape the damn thing, wait for them to go to bed, watch the game then, put your phone freaking down, and don't go find the score. Like, here's the thing. You're not going to remember most of the stuff that you do on a day-to-day basis. So choose the hard stuff. Choose the stuff that will actually move the needle. Because choosing the easy stuff is going to lead you down the same path you've already been down before. It's going to leave you leading the same life you've already been leading. It is in the hard stuff that massive change happens. It's in the uncomfortable that we grow. It's in the self-love of the discipline to do the things that you promised yourself you were going to do, even if you're not in the mood. This is why I create a priority and focus list every day. This is why Google Calendar has everything I do in it, because I don't make the decisions in the moment about what I'm going to do. Past Jesse made the decisions for present Jesse to make, so future Jesse gets to reap the rewards. That's what I want from you. Stop just sitting there with no to-do list thinking, well, what should I do now? Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess I could clean out my closet, and I could clean underneath the sink, and I could go outside to mow the lawn, or I could eat a bunch of donuts and sit here and watch The Simpsons for the next 6 hours. I mean, come on. Which one do you think you're honestly going to choose most of the time? The road less traveled, or the easy one that requires the couch and just chilling out? I mean, I'm not saying that this is a blanket statement for all of us, because there are going to be those that are just driven, and they're like, no, man, my happy place is picking up 400-pound weights and throwing them across the street while I chew on bolts and nuts. Fine, that's awesome. But we all have something that we would digress ourselves toward rather than do the hard thing in life. And what I am saying right now, what I am encouraging right now, is that you push yourself to not do the easy thing. Do the hard thing that will move the needle. You're not going to remember it in 3, 7, 19, 412 days from now. You're just not. 3 months from now, you're not going to know what you were doing on January 12th. 3 months from now, you're not going to remember what you were doing on May 11th, but it'll be August 11th. And if I were to be like, what'd you do on May 11th? You'll have no freaking clue, unless, again, it was your birthday or your anniversary or like something amazing happens today. Like, I don't know, you win the lottery, a talking dog comes up to your house and starts singing show tunes from, The Sound of Music. A lot of shit could go down that would cause you to remember May 11th, but for a majority of us, Day in and day out, it's just another day in the life. So let that day mean something. Push yourself to do the hard thing. Push yourself to be in your uncomfort zone. Push yourself because you're not going to remember anyways. So you might as well do the thing that moves the needle instead of it just leaving the needle non-moving. I tried so hard to come up with something powerful that was going to have you all spike a microphone off the ground. Instead, I came up with that would cause the needle to not move. So that's what I got, guys. It was supposed to be a sober shorty. 34 minutes into it, it's not. I'm going to just end it on this. And I know out there, Richmond, Mr. Truck Driver who listens to the show, I know I probably already said I'm going to get you out of here on this at least twice, but I'm serious now. I'm going to get y'all out of here on this. We generally don't remember most days because most days are just a day. Yes, there are going to be those days that stand out. Those days where we have that one memory where we went and did something amazing. Again, it was a birthday, it was an anniversary. But honestly, after a while, without putting a lot of heavy thought into it, you're not going to remember what you did 4 birthdays ago, 3 anniversaries ago, 2 4th of Julys ago. You're not going to remember a lot of these days because they are just days, right? Taking the holidays and the birthdays and the anniversaries out of it, just that every other day that we live. Just that, when somebody says, hey, man, how you doing? I'm like, just another day in my life. Because some days are just another day in the life. We can make them special in the moment by instead of just doing something to quote-unquote reward ourselves, doing something that's just, instant gratification. We can do something that actually moves the needle, that challenges us, that changes our life. When you're in the middle of one of these, this is just another day in the life, realize that it's in those days, that's where you want the discipline to flex. That's where you want to show yourself the love. That's when you want to be impeccable with your word. Push yourself to do that which you promised yourself in the past. Even though in the moment, in the present moment, you're like, man, I'm not in the mood to do that. Yeah, people who achieve great things aren't often in the mood. Being in the mood isn't the point. FOMO and YOLO and all that crap, that's what people use as their crutch to say, you know what, you only live once. I don't want to miss out on anything. So I'm going to go do this thing instead with all the people instead of sitting here studying in the library. That's what I did in college, and that's why it took me 12 years to get my undergrad. That's why I'm getting such good grades now. Not because I'm smart, because I'm hardworking. Because I refuse to get up from this computer until I've got the essay done. Because I refuse to stop studying until I've got the material down pat. Because I refuse to stop having these sessions with my fellow student client so that we can make sure that we're learning this material so we can go off and we can actually be our best selves when we are accredited counselors out there in the field. Because I refuse to not work hard. If I'm not going to get a good grade, let it be because I just couldn't get the information, not because I didn't try. If I'm not going to succeed at something in my life, I am not going to be the reason why I fail. I am not going to be the reason why I have to look in the mirror and explain to myself why this didn't work out. I'm going to throw it all down on the line. And whenever I know it's the hard thing, when I know it's the tough thing, when I know there's probably 20 other things I'd rather be doing than this thing, that's whenever I dig in. That's when I try harder, because that, my friends, is what moves the needle the furthest. The power of forgetting. It doesn't really matter what you did today. Let me take that back. It doesn't really matter if you remember what you did today. To me, it matters that if through the accumulation, it brings you to that achievement that you've desired. I know I've thrown a lot of words out here. I know I've thrown a lot of absolutes out here. Hell, half of this stuff I might say, I would have loved to have reworded that differently. But in the moment, my fired upness, I said sober shorty, we're 18 minutes past that. I can't stop sometimes. I cannot stop wanting this to get through, wanting this to be the sentence that makes you say, that inspires you to motivate yourself to do something. Stop letting your emotions in the moment dictate what you want to achieve overall in this sobriety, in this recovery, in this amazing second chance we get at life. For fuck's sakes, try harder. Everybody Stop using the system. Stop using the politics. Stop using society as your crutch. Stop blaming other people for not having and achieving the things that you want in life. Because when it comes down to it, I don't care if there's 1,000 people around you. You and you alone decide what you're going to do next. Try harder. Care more for yourself. Stop letting the emotions in the moment tell you that something you've already know you're sick and tired of is what you want to go back to, because you know it's not. You know it's not. Whether it's the yelling at your loved ones, whether it's your drug of choice, whether it's the booze, whether it's the vice that just can't seem to let go of. The opportunity to release these things is always within our reach. The opportunity to release these things is always within our reach. Right? Like, think about that. You're reaching, you have it, it's in your hand, but it's also, it can be gone and it can float away. This opportunity to release, it's always available to you. Just allow the power of forgetting to push you to do the hard thing. Because it's in the moment that we might want to choose the easy thing, but I promise you, your future self will feel so much love to your present self whenever it's looking back and realizing it was the past self that set itself up for success. I'm blessed that my 20, 30-year-old something Jesse stuck through with college, because if I didn't have that degree, I wouldn't be getting the master's now. If I didn't learn all those really awesome skills at University of Florida, Ball State University, Valencia College, LA wouldn't have been so magnificent for me. Your past self made promises. Let your present self follow through on them so your future self can reap the rewards. Forget about the day-to-day emotions. Take the step forward. Love yourself. I can assure you, the payoff is infinitely more amazing than you could even imagine in the moment. I love all of you. Sorry I got yelly and mad and angry. No, I'm not. Sometimes you guys need to hear that. Just sometimes I just hope you all hear. Because I've watched a lot of people in pain. I go to these addiction centers. I've been the phone call that parents have made whenever their child has died. The people I barely know weep in my arms because of what addiction has done to them and their families. We have a choice each and every day. Take the easy road. Take the hard road. We already know which one's going to reap us the biggest rewards. We just have to stop letting our emotions in the moment send us down the path that we've already been down before. Your best life is out there, but it's up to you. It's up to you to forge that new path to get it. As always, my friends, inclusivity over exclusivity, the power of positive energy, release and flow. Every day is the best day of our lives when we wake up sober. Shout out to Sunshine. Shout out to Robert. Glow on. Seriously, I love all of you. I want nothing but the best for all of you. Just stop taking the easy road, man. Let the power of forgetting drive you to the discipline that will help you achieve the life that you've always desired. It's out there for all of us. You are worthy. If nobody's told you that today, you are worthy. Now go out there and show yourself the love that nobody else could show. Love yourself first. Bye-bye.